My gosh, the shipping of Ruby and Aqua, if it wasn't crazy already, it's about to get even crazier. My gosh, dude. Ruby, that shot. I'm 16. Time to fulfill that promise. We gotta get married at this point. Oh my gosh, dang, dude, Ruby's sold on him. Then it cuts to another scene where she's like, give me your juice, taking his drink and getting all cuddly with him. Gotta come in there freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're shipping this now. We're going crazy with this. It ain't happening. Can I say that right here and now? I'm predicting this. This ain't happening. This story will not end with Ruby and Aqua together. Now, it could open the door to an idea of them reincarnate again, way in the future, and they can become lovers or something like that, but it's not happening. It's 100% not happening. Plus, the idea of reincarnation even happening again is sort of a struggle for me to even accept, because how they sort of laid out with Ai. No, this isn't something that normally happens. People don't normally just reincarnate. Ai's gone. All that kind of, again, that could be manipulation. She's trying to manipulate Aqua by believing that Ai is gone for good, even though she might actually be around reincarnated, just to anger him. But I just don't see that actually happening. So, but going back to my previous point, I don't see a relationship between Aqua and Ruby happening. I just don't see Akasaka doing it. Akasaka, I don't think, has the guts to do it. It's so taboo. It would probably make a lot of people upset and disgusted. It's just, again, it's super taboo. I don't see the two of them ever getting together. Something's going to break between the two of them. Ruby's not going to like something that Aqua does, or Aqua himself is going to destroy himself or push her away. Something's going to happen that will create a relationship rift between the two of them. Or it might come back to the idea that Ruby just acknowledged at some point it was never meant to be romantically. That she was just having a childhood crush on the doctor or sensei, and then now in this new life, he's my brother. Something's going to cause a rift there. Something's going to keep it from being an actual relationship. But still seeing her geeking out and being all lovey-dovey is really great, right? Because this is something I think, honestly, me personally, I wanted for a long time. It's complicated, obviously, the relationship aspect between Aqua and Ruby. It's complicated because in the previous life, Sarina to Sensei is this idea of somebody that is the only person around her. She crushed on him because he was the only person willing to come in there and, spend time with her. She was lonely. She was alone. She had nobody to talk to. Of course she's going to gravitate towards him. Of course she's going to crush on him. It's natural. It's just, unfortunately, you want to keep it there, right? Because obviously the age difference there. But now you add into this complication of the reincarnation, and now they've grown up together. She's much older, technically, time-wise, that she's been alive, even though I think that, honestly, her mental facilities and her mental state and maturity has been stunted. It shows signs that Ruby, overall, even if she had the previous life as Sarina, that whole lifespan is so stunted in maturity that she still even acts like a child at this point. But it's still kind of, to logic, kind of gives a little bit of a leeway there to a relationship between the two of them, despite his, the age difference back there. But it's complicated, like I said before. But again, I just don't see it happening even with this, even though I want it to happen because she loves the doctor so much, and now in this new life, they're supporting each other so much. You kind of want that. But it's not going to happen. Because in the end of the day, it's still current time. They are brother and sister. And again, it's so taboo. In Japan, it's so taboo, even in Japan. And yes, there's a lot of mangas and light novels that do it, but it's niche. It's not to like what Oshinoko is, going more for mainstream, so they can't have it. I don't see Akasaka doing it. But all said, what a finale. But we have so much to talk about in this episode. I just want to start things off with that, but holy crap, what a finale. There's so much stuff to go through. I thought we were just going to get jumping into the movie or something like that. We're going to jump forward and see the movie, and then it was going to cut off, and the final season would possibly be like the aftermath. But no, we're building up to the movie, and all this stuff is massive reveals around, Ruby's or Sarina's mother, getting into, Aqua and Ruby starting to have that big reveal, which I think is huge. And I've been waiting for this for a long time. It's like, please, somebody connect the dots. And yes, Ichigo returning. Ichigo finally returning to Miyako. Miyako breaking down, and seeing Miyako's story was great as well. But I'm glad to see that we at least got an announcement for a final season. So that is coming. It's in production. We don't have a date or anything yet. I kind of assume this would be the case. It seems like this is doing very, very well. So it made sense they're going to do a full adaptation. So then we can finally see in the finale what bugs so many other people. We can finally see why everybody hates Ini. Based on this episode, I can see it probably being because Aqua and Ruby doesn't get together. Because again, I assure you it's not going to happen. But we'll see what everybody hated the ending for the manga for. But anyways, let's get into the episode proper. Let me actually go through this episode scene by scene. Actually, I want to actually kind of focus in on certain elements. We do have, of course, the story behind Miyako and all that kind of stuff. We'll leave that for later on. I think most people are curious my thoughts on Ruby and Aqua. It opened up the episode with Aqua really starting to kind of, yes, pick up on the signs of Ruby. It gets in the whole thing about early on how he's seen her and how she seemed like somebody that was kind of trapped, locked away. Most of her experience isn't like true experiences. It's stuff that would be read on the internet, whatever. Obviously, coming to a conclusion that this girl was sheltered or unable to kind of get out there more. And yes, also kind of seeing her and how she looks at things, seemingly like she looks back on her past life not too fondly. It's not something that she wanted to go back to. Again, there was a place where she was alone. She had a lot of pain and everything like that. And again, going to the later parts where he finally does see her breaking down and talk about things, it seems like at some point he finally connects. Yeah, I wasn't really sure, but yeah, I think this Ruby, I think she is Sarina. He finally makes that connection and is able to kind of confront her, which again is really great. From Ruby's side of this whole thing, yes, we obviously see that she is reading the script. She's seeing that the story itself, again, I'm assuming this is Ai's story. Ai had some sort of break with her mother. At some point, acknowledging that her mother didn't like her. And Ruby can't seem to get in character for it. Even though she's asking Kana for help and asking Akane for help, hey, help me figure out how to make a character. They're talking about this idea of kind of looking inside of her, learning how to control her emotions and whatnot, to be able to adjust it to fit a character, to basically build yourself a character. And she's trying to struggle with that. While doing this whole thing, she's eventually looking into, yes, this story and not able to connect to it. With Ai and her acceptance of her mother's dislike for her, Ruby isn't able to do it. Ruby sees it and goes, no, who would accept that? Why would you accept that? And again, this is completely counter to her. It was so great because that earlier moment where she's conflicted with the script and saying, this doesn't make sense. This somebody wrote this wrong. They misunderstood the story because it doesn't make sense to me. I thought for a minute there it was going to be one of those things where she's going to deny what I said to Gotanda. I thought she was going to deny what was told to him and her story. But in actuality, what it's doing here is it's having Ruby unable to accept that somebody has a different lived experience. Because I think both sides are true. I can accept the fact that her mother didn't love her and admit to that, and Ruby can deny it. Ruby denied it. We see that with the whole history. When we lay out her entire story and her mother, which is super tragic, the fact that her mother seen this disease in her daughter, and I thought this was going to be the case. I hate it. I still hate it, but I thought this was going to be the case. The idea that her mother literally was so broken by her daughter going downhill, she couldn't accept it. She mentally broke down and she was too weak and she gave up. It's unfortunately a reality. My heart goes out to every single parent that has to deal with a child with a terminal disease. Cancer. Holy crap. I can't even imagine somebody having to be at a cancer facility and watching their child slowly deteriorate. I think they kind of imply that's what the case is with Sarina. That she had some sort of tumor or something in her head, based on her hair going away, obviously some sort of, chemo treatment or something like that. She was going through some sort of treatment, and her mother couldn't stand it. It kind of gave an impression that she was the type that was like, I want to have fun, so I'm going to leave my daughter here and go out and have fun. No, she couldn't handle it. She was a parent that was unfortunately too weak. I hate saying too weak because it's, again, I couldn't even imagine it. She was too weak to be able to be at her daughter's side. She had to get away from it. And the father wanted to keep her away from it to kind of just help her mental state. They separated the two of them. Not sure why the father didn't go there. I don't think it implied the father even went there. But he was separating the two of them, and eventually they all just kind of moved on with their lives, which sucks. That's the sad thing there. It's like, my heart breaks for a parent that has to go through that, but at the same time, think of your child. You have to force it. I did the same thing. Going through terminal illnesses with my family members, yes, I wanted to run away. But I chose I had to be there because nobody else could be there. Like, you have to. Like, if you're not there, they're alone. And I couldn't stand the idea of them being alone. I had to hurt and be at their side because I couldn't stand the idea of them hurting alone. That's the thing there. That's the problem here, is that Sarina suffered alone. She had nobody at her side. And again, that's when Aqua comes in the picture. And I love Aqua for doing that, or Goro, the doctor, Sensei. Love him for doing that, going in there and taking care of him. She mentioned the fact that he does this for a lot of patients that have no people visiting them. So it wasn't just Sarina. He's just a guy with a heart of gold. He just likes to be with people and, you know, at least be there and listen to them, talk to them, all that kind of stuff. And again, making that connection through I and all that kind of stuff. But here's a sad thing, because it eventually kind of comes down to Ruby's breakdown. And the fact that she wanted her mother to love her, but she never did. And upon, you know, being reborn and then being the child of I, she pushed upon I all of her wishes. And she feels disgusting because of that. And in the end, she sees that everybody around her is falling apart. This is the sad thing. This is a really sad thing and a really sad mindset for both Sarina / Ruby to be in. And the fact that right here, she feels that she's a plague. And I can see her having this feeling. In my previous life, I made everybody suffer. And I went back home in my new life and I see mom was happy. She has a new family. They're all smiling. I never seen mom smile like that. So obviously, if I never seen her smile like that, I was the problem. I was the plague. I was making everybody suffer. And again, technically to her story, as the crow puts it, the crow girl puts it, yes, she was causing suffering. That's why the mom wanted to get away from there. She's seen that she was a suffering to her family in her previous life. And now she finds out the doctor's dead, so she obviously caused him some sort of tragedy. And now in the new life, I's dead. I caused her some sort of tragedy. Now my brother is betraying us. I'm causing nothing but misfortune. She sees herself as a plague. Ugh. And asking why she was reincarnated when she's just a plague. That she brought this upon I, the one that she loves so much. It sucks. It sucks. This is a really sad state for her to be in. I love that Aqua steps in. It's like one of those moments where you're like, I expect anime to do this, and it doesn't. I always expect anime to have Aqua sitting outside the door, the head comes down, and then he walks away or something like that. Some bull crap like that. No, Aqua goes in and freaking reveals all just to reassure her. Thank you. Thank you. But no, he first goes in there, and again, we have that little lashing out initially. Ruby doesn't want his help, but eventually him saying, you know, look, you're going to regret it if you go after this revenge. And eventually pushing on her to go back to what she once was. You didn't get into being an idol for revenge. No. I seen you back there as Sarina. You wanted to be an idol because you wanted that freedom. Now you have that freedom, you're seeking it out. And again, that was to that whole thing. Like, while I was still alive, Ruby was over here trying to become an idol. She wasn't doing what I couldn't do at that moment because I was still doing it. She was wanting to become an idol just like her. She had her freedom. Here, he's saying, go back to that. Go back to that. Go back to what you wanted to do. I watched you. I was your number one fan. I was your number one fan. You were pushing forward even though everything was weighing down upon you. Even though you had nothing, you were still going forward. That was the person that was cheering on. Go back to that. You were never going after revenge. You don't want that. I can tell you it's going to bring you nothing but suffering. You don't want that. Yeah, of course, she picks up on the fact that, why you call me Sarina? Why are you talking about the days at a hospital? Who are you? I was like, no way. They actually revealed this, that yes, he is, in fact, Sensei, and that breaks her down. I was trying so hard to get your attention. Why didn't you say anything? I just figured it out just now. I didn't know for sure. Yeah, her completely breaking down right here. Again, I think this is like the perfect thing at the perfect time because, again, she's going into a dark place, and I was really kind of curious how he would pull her out of it. I wasn't really sure if they would bring out this card quite yet. The fact of him just basically just saying, I'm doctor, don't worry, you don't have to get revenge for me, I'm right here, and I want you to do the thing that you dreamed about. Go back there. Only he could do that. Only Aqua as Sensei could do that. Only he could say, I remember where you were at, go back there. Anybody else doesn't know where she was to tell her to go back there. And so it's perfect timing for him to come in here and make her realize, wake up, girl. This isn't what you wanted. You think this is what you wanted? You keep talking about how I talks about, trying to do the lie and all that kind of stuff. That's not you. And again, they did talk about that. I remember at some point they did talk about Ruby not really necessarily wanting to lie to entertain. She wanted to be pure. She wanted to be truthful. She didn't like lies. And again, that was sort of counter to what they sort of made I out to be. And so to now have Ruby sort of have that clarity given to her and say, hey, look, you don't have to be I. Don't be her. Be your own person. Again, to what Kana was saying earlier with Akane. You have to create your own character. This is finally that moment where Aqua's kind of nudging her to possibly create her own character. Don't be I. Don't be your mom. Don't be the lie teller. Don't be that type of idol. Don't be a revenge seeker. Be the self that you were when you were Sarina. Be Sarina again. You were asking that earlier in the bed. You were asking, am I Ruby? Am I Sarina? You're technically Sarina. Be her again. Be the one that was dreaming. Be the one that was seeking that thing out. It's good. Really good. I really love it. I really love it. I really, really love it. But yeah, her breaking down, that was ugh. That was ugh. That was absolute ugh. But yeah, he did reveal to her at this moment that he is seeking revenge through the whole script. It has Akane later on say that she doesn't think there's enough teeth in it, that this isn't enough to get the revenge that he's sort of seeking. It kind of makes me believe there's something in it that Akane is not seeing, or it's not in the script. Now, there's something in there that's going to have teeth that she's not aware of yet. Or Aqua's going to come in at some point and say, add this line to the scene, just so that nobody knows what's happening. And he knows it's probably to the effect of the father. He's probably going to reveal something about him at the last minute. Here's this truth about Hikaru, and it's going to be thrown in the script at some point towards the later part, a voiceover or something like that he's going to insert there. Something is going to be put into it that Akane doesn't see in the script now. But following this little breakdown between Ruby and Aqua, there is sort of a troubling message here from the Crow Girl. She's outside saying, look, you got what you want. That's great and everything. And that works fine for me too, because that means Ruby's going to do the role that I want. Ruby's fixed. She's able to kind of go back to doing this. She's going to do a good job. And that's exactly what I want as well. But it sort of implies here that she's acknowledging Aqua's doing something for his own benefit. You got what you wanted. You're going to manipulate her again. It kind of implies the idea here that Aqua's doing this not because he's helping Ruby, but because he wants Ruby to do what he wants. I don't think that's the case. I think he can see that this is beneficial that she does fix herself, but I think that he's legitimately trying to help her right here. I mean, there is a possibility that he's going to get the benefit from this, but nothing about that scene really told me that he's manipulating. I think he legitimately wanted her to correct course. He's seen Sarina, and he wanted to help her again. I think there is an element here where he is manipulating people still, like the whole thing with Kana. Don't be manipulated like that. But there's still an element there where he's like, I wish you wouldn't be manipulated. In the end, I don't think they're going to get damaged by this. He's going to be the one. It implies, again, like what, even Ichigo's saying at the end, watch out for him. He's going to break. Everybody's saying that he's going to break. And even Crow Girl's saying that you're going to destroy yourself. Is that okay with you? He's going to bring all of it down upon himself. And again, Akane knows this. She wants to stop it, obviously. But yeah, after this, we get to see Ruby recall the promise that was made. We can fulfill that promise now. When I turn 16, you'll marry me. She got there, I'm 16. And again, like the whole later scene of her like getting all super clinging on him. Kana and Memcho coming in. What the hell happened? Why you get so clingy? Tell her to stop it. No, we're just making up for lost time. That's just way too much. Stop that. Memcho, tell him. Memcho's like, ooh, gotta take these pictures. This is great for Instagram. She's trying to take this hot picture of the hot sister and brother. Memcho knows where it's at. Memcho knows where it's at. It was great. But they kind of insinuate here sort of how this will affect Ruby in the future. Like, it's great that the two of them got along with each other, and Memcho's like, yeah, probably because she needs somebody to lean on. Kana's like, this isn't going to fix things. This is not really a good thing. There's something that really significantly has to change with Ruby. And again, they imply that through the entire episode, that Ruby doesn't have something. Change her schedule. She's got too much stuff on her plate. She needs to learn how to act. This is a big deal. She's not like a golden goose. We're not going to play it out like Ruby is some sort of like person that's a genius from the very beginning. She's got to figure out how to do this stuff. So this is not something that's going to fix that immediately. I kind of wonder about the other thing that was stated here, though. Motivation won't be enough to get her through this. If anything, she's more at risk with mental doping. I wonder if this is an element of her sort of like relying on Aqua, that she's trying to ignore the problem and relying on him to sort of help out, and in the end, it's going to cause her to crash because he can't help her with everything. Sort of what I'm kind of thinking that Kana's talking about there. That's pretty much all the stuff around them. They had a little goofy moment later on where Ichigo gets brought into the agency again, and Ruby thinks that Aqua's doing it because he likes her. It's a roundabout way of doing everything. He's so cute the way that he does that. He so loves me. It's super dorky. But yeah, other than them, a lot of this focus of this episode is, of course, around Miyako and her finding Ichigo again, or at least Aqua setting them up. I love later on finding that out. But yeah, Miyako finally running into Ichigo again. The earlier parts is great because this is Mama Miyako again. Her basically trying to be at Aqua and Ruby's side. Obviously seeing that there's problems happening and she wants to support them. But that's stuff that the managers take care of. She has to focus on the business and that takes her away from them. She wants to be closer to them. And her struggling with that whole thing. And going to the bar and talking to the lady about the fact that she wants to be at their side. It's just like, it hurts. It hurts. She's struggling. She's trying to do this. She's trying to keep everything carried and all that kind of stuff. Then Ichigo comes in. And she chases his ass down. Throwing his knock on the back of the head. Where the hell did you go? What about her promise? All that kind of stuff. Her breakdown. Oh my god, dude, her breakdown was hurting so much because again, this entire time she's been suffering. This is out of my comfort zone. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm completely out of my nature. I don't know the first thing about doing this. I'm just trying to keep things together, keep them going, and support this business. Where the have you been? Where the have you been? But her dragging his ass right back to the, the agency and making him a gopher. I love that. We're restructuring. I'm going to be the manager of Ruby and Aqua. Everybody's like, wait, who's going to run the place? Maybe some gopher can handle things. So I was like, damn. I love that, though, because, again, it gets into the whole backstory of the two of them, the fact that she went to Tokyo and she played her cards right. She was doing really good, just slipping into groups, getting some powerful people with deep pockets. She was playing the night game. She was doing really good. But at some point, her age just gets too high up there. And then suddenly things stop happening. The calls stop coming. She's just too old. She reached that age where suddenly nobody cares about her. And it implies the fact that she kind of shifted into a role of just supplying younger girls. Like I was no longer accepted, and I'm the one that kind of ushers in people. And now I have these old people that want me to be mistresses and everything and take advantage of me until Ichigo shows up and says, you want to try something like normal? Like, do you want like a real job? Do you want to support me? Let's do this thing over here. And that turns into Ichigo's productions and all that kind of stuff. But the dream and the promise in the end is the fact that she was going to show her those lights, show her those big dreams that they were wanting to build together, fill up that Tokyo Dome, all that kind of stuff. And she's been this entire time keeping that. That was the sad thing. Her screaming at him, I kept that promise. I want to fulfill that dream. Where were you? Where'd you go? You just went up and abandoned it, but I kept it going. Where have you been? It sucks. It sucks. Again, we know why Ichigo did this. It's because he doesn't want her involved when he goes and gets the killer. I didn't want you to be involved with me when I go out and take out whoever did this. Whoever killed my daughter, I'm going to kill them, and I don't want her involved with me when that happens. But here, I think he's realizing he's making her suffer this entire time. Like, whether suffering at the end or suffering this entire time, which one do you want? I was kind of hoping that he would acknowledge that or at least verbalize that or something, but yeah. I love going over the schedule, though. Him kind of pointing out all the flaws in Ruby's schedule. This is way too much stuff. You're putting way too much stuff on her. And it makes sense. You're wanting her to become big, and what you're doing is you're accepting everything, which just gets her lots of work, and it gets her name out there, but that doesn't get a big name. Her being on every single television network doesn't make her suddenly popular. Because at some point you realize that you got to start being picky. You got to start making your talent seem valuable. If you keep putting out to everything, they don't seem valuable. You want to make her seem like she's like rare, that she's exclusive, that kind of stuff. I love how in the end she says, I wasn't cut out for this. I was never meant to do this. I'm not good at this. No, girl, you built this place up. It's too earlier when she was restructuring. Look at that room. It's full of people. She's built up Ichigo Productions. He puts in the idea that I've been seeing from the backgrounds that, yes, people respect Ichigo Productions. I wasn't able to do that when I was here. You did something special. Yes, I was working behind the scenes. Yes, I had lots of connections, but what you built was trust with all these clients. That's something I couldn't have done. Of course, she makes a joke in the idea that you're not going to suck up to me and get around getting punished, get back to the toilets. But it's true. It's true. This girl built something. She built something up. It was something that Ichigo couldn't have done. It's only that she could have done. While being a mom. While being their mom. Ichigo disappeared a long time ago. Ichigo disappeared while they were still very young. She was parenting them as well. Miyako. Girl, you're such a strong mom. Such a strong mom. Unlike somebody else in this episode. But yeah, he wraps that up by saying to keep an eye on them. Aqua. That he's going to break down before it cuts over to, yes, them having problems getting child actors, and Aqua offering Crow Girl a job. That was weird. It does sort of answer some questions I have around her, though. I thought that she was just going to be some sort of deity that shows up, some sort of ghost or something like that of the dead, something like that, a spirit. This implies that this is a child. Like, this is an actual physical child. And I would assume, as well, her saying it's a vessel that came from a mother, that this is another individual that is similar to Aqua and Ruby. That this is also another reincarnation, somebody that died before, was placed into this body, and now she's walking around as a reincarnation. So this goes back to my theory that she's going to be similar to Aqua and Ruby, that she was wronged by Hikaru. That her previous life, she was killed by him, and she's trying to get revenge, and she's in the body of this child that will now, goofingly enough, join them for this movie because they need somebody that can actually act decent because they don't have Kana. Kana's too old for that role. I should gloat about that. Definitely an interesting reveal, and it's kind of a stupid little punchline to end this entire episode on. Season finale, end moments of the episode. Haha, that's funny, right? It was dorky. It was dorky. No, technically they end the episode after the cast on the message from I. I don't know what they're doing there, unless it's going to be a reveal for something to come. It's obviously a message for specifically Ruby, because she's there. She has them two in her hands, and at some point she says to Ruby, something I have to say to you now that you're all grown up. What? What? I wonder. I don't know. I kind of wonder. Maybe the fact that she knew that there was something off about it. Because again, I acknowledged that there was something off about Ruby. She acknowledged that she was acting as if she was always falling. She knew something was off about Ruby. Did she notice something? Or otherwise, what would she say? Other than the fact of, like, me being somebody that has been in the industry as a female, I experienced a lot of things that only females do. Let me tell you some things to look out for. Look out for men that do this. Look out for people that will help you with this. Don't let yourself get manipulated like I did. Or learn how to use your abilities. I don't know. Seemed like a very odd note to kind of leave the episode on. Anyways, I think that's everything. Oh my gosh, I have like 8 legal size pages of notes. So I think I covered everything. There's just like so much stuff to go through with an entire hour-long episode. But what a finale. And I'm looking forward to the return of this series for the finale, or the final season rather. Hope you guys will join me for that whenever that does come around. Hopefully it's not too long away. However long it takes them to, do a good job of it, of course. But I would assume probably like another 2 years before we see this at least. But either way, I'm super excited for it. Excited to see the finale after so long of dodging all the spoiler people that want to talk so badly about why it's such a horrible ending. We'll finally get to see it. But until then, it was a lot of fun. I thank you guys for dropping by on a weekly basis to watch my impressions on this series. I always greatly appreciate your guys' support. Hope you guys will stick around and join me for the next coming season for more shows to cover. But until then, I appreciate you guys' support. And until next time, y'all take care.